for today, Dan and James and I talked about this, and we thought it'd be good to go over some of those end of year tasks which we're all completing as tech directors, IT managers at school, and typical tasks you might do at the end of the year. And we're really keen to get your input on this as well, everyone who's joined the call today. So offboarding staff and students, we'll take a closer look at that in a moment, but particularly looking at exporting data from your domain as people leave and using tools like Google Takeout, but also how to securely offboard those users and suspending those accounts. Onboarding new staff, that's obviously, and students is a really big task in making sure they're all trained and ready for the new academic year. And of course, many of you know we'll be preparing for your big summer project, so keen to hear what projects you're working on this year. So let's just have a closer look first at onboarding and offboarding students and staff. So on this one particularly, a couple of things I just wanted to highlight. Really good practice to have a separate OU set up for your leavers, whether that's students leaving or staff leaving. Good practice to make sure those accounts get suspended in a timely manner, but also moved out of your active OUs and move them into a separate OU, remove our license and make sure those accounts do get suspended, just to make sure that's all secured properly. Now, on the topic of staff and students leaving, a service you have access to on your domain is Google Takeout and Google Transfers. And we had quite a few questions on the call this morning, actually, so I just thought it'd be good to have a quick look at that in a bit more detail about what you get there. So first of all, Google Takeout. So Takeout is available if you go to takeout.google.com. You get to a page like this, where a user can select what data they want to take out of different Google services. It's called Google Takeout, but just to clarify here, it's only creating copies of these items. So if a user takes out their drive items, so drive items they own or have edit access to and have added to their drive, it will just give you a downloaded version of that information, but the originals all stay in place on that Google Drive. So from here, you can select what you want to export, and then go down here and you can select how you want to export that, whether it's an email link to a zip file, add it to a drive, or export it to a third-party cloud service. Now, Google Transfer is a service unique to education domains, and this lets you transfer account data from one domain to another domain or to a personal Google account. So really useful for students graduating and wanting to take their data to their university or taking it into a personal Google account. And how it works is you just select what account you want to export that to, you verify that account, and then it lets you export either Drive or Gmail or both. And again, for Google Drive, it will only take what that user has in their Google Drive, so files they own or have edit access to, which have been added to Drive. Now, there are some risks with you using transfer and takeout, particularly with staff taking or at least copying sensitive school data, which you might not want to leave your domain. So there are admin controls for this in the admin console, which you can access by going into Account and Google Takeout. And then from here, give us a moment to load. From here, we can control access to the service. So if we go into access to Google Takeout first of all, now some services do have a granular control, but all other services, including Workspace, are included within this section, services without an individual admin control. So on this domain, if I didn't want our staff to use this service, I could go into here, select edit, and say, click our staff OU and don't allow for those users. But I could leave it on for my student users to allow them to download their Google information and take that with them. Just the same for Google Transfers. If I back out to here and go into additional transfer permissions, there's a tick box in here to enable or disable transfers for your domain as well. So again, not something I'd recommend having on for staff users, but I would recommend having it on for students if you want to enable students to easily take their information with them. For staff, what I'd recommend staff do, if they do want to take files they've created to another school, is creating a folder in their Google Drive, moving those items into that folder, and then you can right-click, download that as a zip file. Then they can take that and upload that into another cloud platform or onto a local device. That would be my recommendation for staff. Right, so that's a quick overview of takeout versus transfer.